Okay. Everybody, please sit down and be quiet. Okay. Welcome to Akasha Hub. This is a space for social innovation and built by citizens for citizens. And you can join up for a fee of only €5 a year. So please join. Talk to Carmen, I think. I forgot your name. Yes, over there. She will tell you what to do. No, she told me I am doing it. This is a small introduction. So, yeah. Again, welcome to Akasha Hub. This is a space of citizens for social innovation and stuff. Very nice. Okay, so now that we're done with that, welcome. We are Barcelona Free Software. We have red shirts. We will not die. This is a starter joke. Please laugh. Okay. There's a few QR codes behind me. One is for our webpage. The other is for our mailing list. We will eventually maybe phase out Meetup. So this is how you will get announced of our meetings. And behind me, there's another QR for the chat/forum that's using Zulip. We did a Zulip meetup last time, so go to YouTube and learn about it. One more thing, he always wants me to say, we have t-shirts for sale. No, they're not for sale. You will make me a donation and I will donate you a t-shirt, okay? The stickers are free. We will have pizzas after the talk, so don't run away. We will have food. And that's basically it. So now, the actually important stuff, he will talk about raylib. Before starting, there was a release of raylib just this week or past week, maybe. People that are not him or Albert, what was the version of the release? 5.5, okay. You get more free pizza than the other free pizza. Okay. More pizza. Okay, thank you very much, Albert. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming today to this presentation about raylib. But I'm Ramon Santamaria, and I'm an electronic engineer, but for the last 10 years or so, I've mostly developed software, mostly free software actually, open source software. Today I'm going to talk about what is raylib, but before starting, who knows what is raylib or has ever heard about raylib? Please, your hands. Okay. And who actually has tried raylib? Okay, nice. Okay, so today you see what is raylib and what can be done with raylib. Oh, here it is, the presentation. Well, by the way, can you see this presentation? Guess what? It's made with raylib. Actually, this is a small tool to create presentations that I created, and it's created with raylib, and the presentation itself has been created with this tool to create presentations made with raylib. So yeah, let's start. Here it is. Yeah. So, first question, what can I do with raylib? If you have used raylib, probably you have already some idea what can be done with raylib. If not, here it is, a small video showcasing what can be done with raylib. Actually, this video shows some projects from the raylib community compiled last summer. It's just about 2 months of projects that the raylib community has shared in the raylib Discord. Well, I picked some of them and I created this video to showcase what can be done with raylib. So, yeah, show me, please. Oh, wait. Before continuing, you see this video player? Guess what?
it's made with raylib. Oh, it's quite nice. So let's play. Well, as you can see in this video, raylib is basically a tool to create all kinds of graphic applications. In this video you can see lots of levels, from starters, people that start programming and start creating some basic basic games, and even some more advanced 3D projects, or even some tools. That's what is raylib intended to be used to. So, raylib is a C library, and it was originally created for education, and it was designed in a way that it's very, very easy and simple and easy to use. And thanks to that, there is a lot of people jumping to raylib, from students to even more professional and advanced people that just want to use it to create graphics in some way. But how's been that adventure? Because at the moment, I've been working in the project for 11 years. Raylib it's 11 years old at the moment. Actually, it started in the summer of 2013, so it's a long time ago. And actually, last week I released a new version of the library, 5.5. But well, it's been 11 years working in the library. How's been that journey? Well, we can see it. Show me, please. Here it is a small timeline showcasing the most important events that had happened in the last 11 years regarding Raylib. But before continuing, guess what? This timeline is made with Raylib also. So let's play. So, as said, it started in summer 2013, and actually, at that moment, by the way, all the links work. So all the events are linkable and open the video or the talk or the event or the release or whatever happened in that moment that it's spread around the web. It's interesting that first point, because I went to the Kronos group, that it's a very important association where all the big companies in the world, Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, are there to manage graphics on screens. And I went to the forums asking for a simple library to put graphics on the screen. And nobody answered me. And so I created Raylib. And actually, you can still see the post when I asked for that library, nobody answers. And some months after that, I replied to my own post saying, okay, I created it. So, it's nice. So, how's been the trip? Well, here, those were the first years of the library. Actually, those first years of the library, those are talks, those are releases or separate library, here are communities I created. Those first 6 years, actually, were the years I worked most of the time in Raylib, because I was improving it, I was teaching with Raylib, and I got a lot of feedback from the students. So, I was improving it a lot, but in terms of key events, there are not that many key events. And actually, for the first 5-6 years of Raylib, it hardly even get noticed in the net, in the internet. So it was after the first 5 or 6 years or so that the library started getting noticed seriously in the net. Actually, there is an event around that, there are some talks. Here I created tools, talks, more talks. But here there is an event that I got an award from Google, from the Google Open Source Peer Bonus Award, that it was a recognition for Raylib. Actually, it came with some stipend, with some grant, that it was $200. So it was not that much, but actually, I think it had quite a lot of impact in Raylib being noticed around. So actually, it was quite positive for the library. And also, but that time, as you can see, I stopped working as a teacher, and I started working full-time, not only in Raylib, but also in the creation of an ecosystem around Raylib. An ecosystem means another libraries, another tools, all kind of products around Raylib, related to Raylib, that were not exactly Raylib. And well, in that moment, there was a lot of events. I started presenting the library around, giving some talks. Those are extra tools. Oh yes, at some moment I get an Epic Mega Grant, that was a considerable grant actually from Epic Games, that also helped me to keep working on the library for some months, and also helped me to spread the word of the library. And yeah, those are different events. I got again Google Open Source Peer Award. Actually, you can see different releases, tools, talks, another award from, well, I don't know, what's that? Yeah, it was some kind of best engine for mobile games or something like that. As you can see, for the last few years, I've been working really, really hard, full time. Actually, if you see some space where there is a less activity, it's because I've been working also in the university teaching. I got some students here. During those moments, I won't be able to be so active creating other tools, creating technology. But at that moment, I was full-time working on that. Later on, we will see what all those tools are, just a glance. So, and that's 2004. At the beginning of the year, I was working in the university. This year, I've done quite a lot of talks, actually. Here it is, presenting raylib, unlocking creativity. It has no link yet. The link is not active yet. And well, the question is, what's next? I see, I don't know. Every day is an adventure. So. And just a small summary of those 11 years. I got registered to date 240 events, things that happened in the raylib world. The library has 140 buildings. I will talk about that later on. And in that time, I developed actually more than 30 additional libraries and tools. That's what we have here. Every box, actually the links link to the libraries and the tools that I've been publishing. raylib, it's like the base technology. I got the Steam activated. Okay, that's it. So that's been 11 years of raylib. So some of the features of the library, some of the key features of the library. The library is multi-platform. What does it mean? It means that it works today, that I know, in more than 20 different platforms, operating systems. Probably you know some of them, or maybe not. But Windows, Linux, lots of distributions of Linux. Raspberry Pi can run over the kernel in DRM mode. It means that you can run raylib without the need of a visual operating system, just the basic kernel. It can run on web. It can run on Dreamcast. It can run on Nintendo 64. It can run on PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, PSP. It can run on all consoles. Actually, the library, it's a C library. It's very low level. And thanks to some of its features, it has been, in the last year, actually ported to many devices and many platforms. Okay. The library also is multi-language. It means that you can use raylib from different languages. The library is created in C language, that it's a language from 1972. Due to being a widely spread language and being a very low-level language, it can be binded, it can be adapted to many other programming languages. Today, it has been adapted to more than 70 programming languages. Actually, probably you know some of them: Odin, Python, Java, C#, Rust, C, Go, Rust, NIM, R. Some of the esoteric ones, let's see, Ruby, Lua, Janet. Yeah, There are many, many languages. Actually, it supports more than it even supports Fortran, COBOL, even assembly. Yeah. Actually, there are more than 70 languages, but there are more than 140 buildings. Most of the languages have several buildings. Okay. Also, the library comes back. The library itself comes with more than 150 small code examples. So if you start learning with raylib and you start trying raylib, you got more than 150 kind of simple examples, as you can see in the screens, to do all kinds of things, from drawing basic shapes to 3D models to animation, shaded effects, text. You got lots of examples, more than 150. Also, the library today had more than, it's an open source project, yeah? And in the last release, it surpassed the 650 contributors. It means that 650 people from all around the world have contributed in some way to the library. Reviewing code, adding features, adding examples, correcting typos, whatever. Have been contributing to the. That's actually a lot of work, because they are sending me the changes, and I have to review those changes, and I have to make sure they work for all the available platforms and integrate into the library. That's a lot of work, really. But everything is automatized as far as possible, so it's nice. Also, as I mentioned, around raylib has been created a very wide ecosystem of additional technologies and additional tools that are somewhat related to raylib or are created using raylib. For example, the same presentation as you see, it's a tool and it's created with raylib. Yeah. Finally, what I think is the most important feature of the library is the simplicity. The main aim of the library since the beginning is to keep everything simple, keep everything super simple, but at all levels. Not only at how to use the library, the instructions included in the library, but also the internal structure of the library, the source code of the library, the building of the library, the community, everything is always focused in this maxima, that is, keep it simple, always, as much simple as possible. And actually, it has proven to work very, very, very well, because anyone that wants to jump into the library, it's very, very, very easy to start using it, and to start contributing to it, and to even use it to create bigger projects. So, about the library structure. Following that simplicity, here it is, the library structure, well, the architecture. When you see those diagrams, probably you think, wow, what's that, a mess? That's super complex or difficult to follow. Actually, it's not that difficult. Here you got all the platforms, or some of the supported platforms. That will be the ground layer. And raylib is this library. This library, actually, here you see lots of boxes. Well, actually, it links with the source code of everything. So every small box, it's a header file, and every big box, it's a .zip file. So, if we change it to a simple view, raylib, it's 7 C files. It's 7 code files. That's it. It eases a lot compiling the library. The build systems are usually very easy. I mean, you don't need big complexities in the building or anything. You only got those 7 files, C files, you compile them, link them, and you got the library. And you don't need anything else outside that. So, well, besides the platform libraries that usually come with the operating system. So, that's the level of simplicity. More important than that, every part of the library, what is called every module, it's usually decoupled from the other modules that can be used independently from the other modules. So you can decide just to use this module of raylib or just this, or you are creating your own project and you don't need all raylib, just one part of the raylib. You can just pick that part and use it. It gives a lot of portability and a lot of flexibility. And considering it's just a plain C file, it's super handy actually. Yeah. About the raylib ecosystem. Well, as I said, on the years, many additional libraries and additional tools have been created around raylib. Actually, the tools have been created in the last 7 years or so, and most of the auxiliary libraries also. Well, unless this one, Raygui, that is a library to create UI interfaces. Actually, as you see, this tool, you see the buttons, the icons, and the progress bar, the toggle. That's a toggle to show you time limit. Okay, everything has been created using that small library. It's a single file header only library, and it's intended to create UIs. It's intended to create tools. Actually, all the tools use that library. I'm not going into detail in every library, but things to keep in mind. All those libraries are single file header only. It means that are a single header, a single file that you can include into your project, and it does not depend on anything, and you are ready to go if you are working. And about the tools, well, there are many tools and they do a lot of things, but most of the tools are really focused on video games industry, on doing several processes for video games industry. But all the tools are independent tools, are like, for example, a Word, a Photoshop, are just self-contained tools that are usually, no, actually not usually, are always one single executable file fitting in a floppy disk. Probably the older in the audience will know what's a floppy disk. It means that are about 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte a single executable, including not only the UI, like this one, like this tool. Actually, this is the, where is it? Oh, it's not in the list. Oh, no, the name is, oh, never mind. They not only contain all the UI, but also contain a powerful command line to do everything that can be done with the UI with the command line, because they are intended to be integrated into pipelines. Okay, just sign on. So, here are lots of tools. Yeah. Oh, I paused it. Or not? Ah, no. Okay, that's it. Here it is, one of the libraries. It's a simple sample of one of the library, the Raygui library that I told you. It's a library to create, actually it's intended to create tools. It's a UI library. It means to create this kind of UI. Here you've got Dropbox, list views, you got, wait, I have to lock. See? You got the different controls that you have for the UI, you got even a text boxes, you got everything. Show message. Oh, okay, this is a message code, okay. And not only that, but also the UI, you can configure the style of the UI. Here you got different UI styles. As you can see, all those styles are not following the common standards styles that you find in most operating systems or apps. Actually, they all follow a kind of 80s, 90s retro pixel art UI style that I actually love. And I think that are very distinctive for this library, and I use it for all my tools. So you got here the one, and that was the one that we're using. So that's one of the libraries from oh, it's unlocked. Is this one from the list, but all the other also have other functionalities. Okay, and a question that you may ask me after seeing all that, maybe you are wondering, oh, that seems super interesting. Why not I try raylib? How could I try raylib? And you could think, wow, I'm sure that it's a super confusing process, that you have to download something from somewhere and install, and then it does not work, blah, 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 blah. That's usually what happens when you pretend to try many programming libraries. Well, with raylib, it's easier than that, and I show you. So, how long does it take to set up raylib? Okay, first, if you are on Linux, you usually have raylib available in the package manager of the distribution, so you can just download from there, from call make, and go on. But raylib was originally created for education, and was originally created to teach people that had never coded before, actually without profile. So it was people with not experience setting up environments, and well, it's usually users that prefer to have a no-code environment and go from there. But well, actually, the objective we raylib when I created it was making them code, right, actual code. So I created a small tool to allow to do so. So, show me, please. So, here we got the raylib installer. I created a self-contained, that's tool for Windows. I created a self-contained installer that contains everything required to start working with raylib in not a long time, actually. And I show you how to do it. But before continuing, you see this installer? Guess what? It's made with raylib. Okay. Actually, the installer itself is a tool that it's available to easily create installers for Windows, but with some fancy elements. I'll show you. So, install. Well, while the game is installed, you can play this maze. So, it's installing 24,000 files, about 3 gigabytes of data, and it took less than 20 seconds. Actually, I optimized recently this installer to be super fast. Of course, computers can be super fast, despite that nowadays it's not clear that's the case. But, okay, so raylib is installed, it creates that link on the desktop. You open the link, you read the line that is focused. They say, to test example, just press F6 and execute, raylib, compile, execute. Let's try. F6, raylib, compile, execute, enter. Voila! You compile and execute your first C raylib program. That's nice. But you say, oh, well, okay, that was easy. Let's try something more difficult. Yes, we can try something more difficult. Raylib, compile, execute, web. That's more difficult. So we have a C file. That's the C file, that's the code. And we are, oh, it's taking longer than, is it working? Yes, it is working. It not only compiles the C file to WebAssembly, but also runs it on web locally. So your same code, you can compile it for several platforms, just of the code in a couple of minutes. So that's great to start working with raylib. Yeah, that's it. So you can ask at this point, okay, yeah, that's amazing, but we have a C file. If you're trying to do some big project, nobody works with a C file. Maybe you can, well, I work with a C file, but many projects require multiple files, multiple configuration, multiple, well, some kind of complex structures, project organization to to keep you organized with continuous integration, with GitHub and everything. Well, recently I published another free and open source tool that is called Raylib Project Creator, that you can even run it online, that lets you, it is Raylib Project Creator, that lets you pick up a basic example, a more advanced example, or even drag and drop your C files, Raylib project made with C files, and let's pick this one, and generate project extractor, and voila, what happened? This tool automatically, with everything you configure here, the project name, product name, description, blah, 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 it creates a complete functional project extractor with the source, external files, the icons, all the required files to build to multiple platforms, scripts to build in the command line, Visual Studio 2022, Visual Studio Code, Playmaker files, and even multiple GitHub workflows with continuous integration, continuous delivery. Well, summarizing, it creates a full pre-configured, full structure to start making projects with Raylib in a bit more professional way. You can just upload this data into GitHub and you are ready to go to have your project. Actually, even you can make a release and it actually generate the artifacts and upload it to the release and everything pre-configured with that data. That was one of the big additions in this it's a support tool added in latest Raylib release. Yeah, that's it. So at this point, probably you have no excuse to start using Raylib, or at least trying it. And yeah, that's it. So if you have questions.
Yeah, actually it's a very simple one. You said that people using, I don't know, Ubuntu or something like that because it's in the repository.
What, sorry?
That people using Ubuntu, they should find Raylib in the distribution repository, you said. Is that true?
I think so.
Yeah.
Actually.
And is that true for the core Raylib library or also the other tools?
No, the tools, there are all kind of tools are not all free and open source. There are all kind of models. Actually, in the models, I mean distribution models. The tools, there are some that are free and open source. There are some that are open source and not free. There are some that are private, and there are some that are well, you got all the kind of models in the tools. Half of them or so are open source. Yeah, and the libraries that it's kind-based technologies used to create all the tools. All the base technologies are free and open source. And actually, all them, except one, I think that it's using MIT license, but all them use zlib license. But it's the license I like the most. But it's like MIT. So, yeah. Yeah, you can find in the repositories. Actually, here, yeah, it's here. You got all the tools around. Also, recently, it has been created a Raylib extras repository because there was many contributors that wanted to add lots of features to Raylib. But not everything should go inside Raylib, because it's very difficult to manage if you start growing and growing and growing, because it's not only adding things, you have to maintain those things, and that's a lot of work. So from some time lately, for the last 1 year or two, there was an additional repository called Raylib Extras where everyone that wants to add additional examples, more advanced features to the library can be added to that specific place. So raylib can keep growing, but not growing the base library. Like tile maps no others, JSON no others, voxel engines, advanced samples. There are a lot of things in there.
I might know the answer up to this already, but probably maybe a lot of people are wondering. SDL is another C library that has bindings for lots of languages and kind of lets you put things on screen, right? So what do you give me that doesn't SDL already give me? And I know SDL is already a backend, a possible backend for raylib, but what do I have by using raylib that I don't have by just using SDL?
Well, what do you have? Well, actually you have all those layers. Air textures, air text, shapes, models, all those four at least are exclusive from raylib. Usually SDL is what's called a platform layer. SDL only gives you some basic functionality to manage, create the windows and manage the inputs for your games. And it also allows you to create a specific context. I mean, to use OpenGL, lately to use Vulkan, Metal, and DirectX. But that's it. Raylib gives you a lot more functionality over it. SDL is kind of more low-level library, more focused in some aspects than Raylib. With Raylib gives you functions to just do 2D and 3D easily. Also, there is one key feature that it has proven to be very useful in Raylib, and it's not available with SDL. That it's the possibility to compile for OpenGL 1.1. What does it mean? It means that you can compile Raylib to work on devices, on 30-year-old devices. And I think that's super important. And actually, that's one of the reasons it has been ported to Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, PSP, PS Vita, because all those devices have some version of OpenGL 1.1, and that's what enabled Raylib to work on those devices. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Okay, I'm a first-year video game student, and I wanted to ask you about documentation for the Raylib libraries, and if there's any in-depth guide of every function and everything that you can do.
Okay, Raylib, in terms of documentation, uses a very different approach than many other libraries. Okay, probably if you use other programming libraries, you are used to long doxygen documentation when you search every function with everything. In my opinion, nobody reads those documentation, or hardly anyone reads. Only most advanced programmers read those documentation. So, as it was originally created for education and it was intended to be read by users that probably don't like to read that kind of documentation, I decided to use a very different approach. And Raylib has a cheat sheet. A cheat sheet is a long document where every line, now here it's very small. Okay, here is very small, but you got usually the function and the description of what the function does. But, as I said, simplicity was key for the library, so all the functions have been designed in a way or intended to be super clear. I'm very careful with the syntax following kind of a natural language, trying to avoid very technical words or programming specific words, so trying to be very clear in the naming. And I also put a lot of focus in the parameters, trying to minimize the number of parameters for every function. So here you got some example. Draw pixel, position X, position Y, color. It's almost self-explanatory. And that's the same with many, many functions. Draw circle lines, center X, center Y, radius, color. So if you check all the functions in the library, it's always the same pattern. Load image. You get the file name of the image you want to load and you get the image. All the structures are transparent. I try to minimize pointers everywhere. So the functions, you load the image and you got my image.width, .height, .format, and .data with the data that it's a pointer, but it's inside the structure. So I put a lot of effort into keeping it as much simple as possible. So with that cheat sheet and then the examples, the raylib examples that are organized by modules, you got mostly everything to go. You can open the example. Actually, the example is running in real time in the web. And here you got the code that it's usually under 100 lines of code, and it's with lots of comments and lots of explanations what's happening in there. And you got 150 examples. So the intention of the library is to be used to learn just with the cheat sheet and with examples. And with that, actually, if you are a starter, you can do a lot. Actually, the examples, as you can see, have stars. That means kind of a level of difficulty. So 1 star are the simple ones, and 4 stars are the most complex ones. But if that's not enough and you want to learn more about the library, here you got the wiki with, documentation about the architecture, the designs taken, how to configure the library in many, many platforms, how to configure the library for multiple IDs, and you got that kind of extra documentation. But there is not a specific kind of Oxygen documentation function by function. Actually, I recommend checking the source code, always. The source code itself is designed in a way to be very, very, very simple and readable. That's it. For a question.
Are you keeping some kind of backward compatibility regarding APIs?
That's a good question. And the answer is no. No. Every new version of the library has breaking changes. That's it. And at the beginning I tried, but it added way more burden into the maintenance, review the things that are deprecated, how you maintain compatibility. No. So at some point I decided, okay. No, yeah, if the API changes, it's breaking. And every version, there are breaking changes. But it's important to note that the breaking changes are usually minimal. Minimal, it means maybe 2 functions changing from the 580 functions that currently has the library. I think in the last version that was released last week, there was like 2 or 3 functions that somewhat changed. So it's usually very, very stable. But I also have to say in that regards that I put a lot of care into what is merged into the library. So actually some people sometimes get annoyed, because if I see that something could be breaking or could be potentially bad for the future of the library, I just don't accept those merges. Now I have the raylib extras, so I can say, oh, that's good for raylib extras. Yeah, so actually, what I've been doing in the last reviews of the library, one thing that I've been trying to do has been removing features. Because I'm seeing that it keeps growing, and maintenance, sustainability, it's a really concern for me. So as much as I can, I prefer to remove things than to add new things. Yeah.
Okay, so you said that the library focuses mostly on students and hobbyists, but do you also know of people using this professionally to actually develop games that then are sold? And if you know, how was the experience? Was it a success? Was it not so much of a success?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, there are a lot of people that use the library commercially. There are about 30 games on Steam made with raylib. So some people are making big games and are releasing them. But it's important to note that due to the nature of the library, being C, being low level, if you pretend to make video games, for example, video games applications professionally, and put them in the market as soon as possible to start making money as soon as possible, I mean, if you have this kind of professional objectives, or more corporate objective, indeed there are better alternatives than raylib to do that. So it makes raylib user base very focused into students, that are people that are starting, that want to learn, that want to tweak with the library and see what they can do or how things work in the lower level, or even professionals or professional people with a long time experience that decide to use the library to just move away from the corporate world and enjoy programming, create their things, try to experiment, move lower level, have full control over what they create. I think those are the two limits of users of the library. So actually that's good because it fits in a niche. It fits in a very specific position where there are not that many alternatives in the market. So and it proved to work very, very well in that position. I got the question many times about why not you create a full engine over the library? The library is great, but it would be better if you create some kind of tool to drag and drop and to be able to create more advanced games with just, well, more similar to, for example, Unity and Real, Godot. I try to move away from that space, from that red ocean, because there are already a lot of people creating this kind of engines or trying to create this kind of engines, and there are already a lot of alternatives, some commercial, some open source. You are competing in a very difficult space if you're trying to go there. And I think that raylib on its space, it's quite unique. So that's it. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about the automatization you mentioned? Let's say, do you have testing, how inert it is when you make a new release, or I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Well, at some point in the raylib development, it started to be supported in more platforms, and it has more examples to test. Well, it started growing a lot. It was like year 5, I think, something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, and there was actually a contributor that created some continuous integration and continuous delivery systems based on, at that moment, it was kind of, remember, it was Bayor and Travis tools that integrated into GitHub. And those tools, what they do, those tools, it's that when you push some kind of change into the library, when you push some kind of change, there is an automatic background process that compiles the library, compiles all the examples, do some kind of static analysis, make sure that at least everything keeps working on different platforms. Windows, 32 bits, 64 bits, Linux, WebAssembly, web, Mac. So it actually, the continuous integration system does a lot of, in a server, in a GitHub server, does a lot of compilations for a lot of configuration, I think at the moment there are like 50 different configurations, something like that. That every time you push a change, something automatically runs and gives you a report. Well, you get an email if anything breaks. And if you don't get an email, that means that everything at least compiled. But actually last year I added, after those two tools that were sent by a contributor, I saw that it was very, very, very useful for the library. So I decided to add GitHub Actions when they were added to GitHub. GitHub Actions is another continuous integration system that does automatic compilations and tests to the library. And I added that for all the supported platforms and more. And actually last year I even added one thing that's available in GitHub that it's called QL, that it's kind of a static analysis of the code. I mean, it's not an artificial intelligence, because that word is overused nowadays, but it's kind of an automatic system that tries to compile the code with lots of testing path, loads of kind of critical testing path to validate the security in the library at a higher level. And I added that option last year, or no, it was 2 years ago or something like that, when that option was added to GitHub, CodeQL it's called, and it does a static analysis of the code. It tells you, oh, you are not checking the memory return by that memory allocator. It can go out of bounds, and it lists all the potential conflicting points in your code. That for C, that's fantastic, because C is a very low-level language. Actually, it's everything in there. There are not many dependencies, not many interoperability. There is not many complex things. So you just can check a set of things, very standard things. It was added to raylib, and I got all the reports, and all the critical path or the critical points in the library were reviewed, and that's it.
So I have a question. I'm going to change it. So the CI thing, right? So you support Dreamcast. Do you have CI for Dreamcast? How does that work?
No. Actually, the console backends were added this last year, and actually they are not available in the core library due to possible legal issues with homebrew development. When you develop for all consoles, well, they are all consoles. Supposedly they are abandoned by Sega, Nintendo, Sony. But yeah, you can run into legal issues because you are not supposed to be able to develop for those platforms. Technically, you need a license from Nintendo, Sony, Sega to develop for those platforms. So you are not supposed to do so. But people do it. Okay? So, I mean, yeah, people do it. So all those backends, actually, all those backends were added by a guy from Seville, very, very, very good programmer. It's called Antonio. He worked on all those retro platforms, and he added all those backends. But all those consoles are not in the main library. They are kept in a separate repo. People wanting to target those platforms can go there and use those platforms. But the good thing about there is that all those backends are basically one C file. That, as we saw in the diagram, it's here, you see? Those are single files that actually implement all the logic for creating the window and managing the gamepads or the inputs of the system. So raylib is structured in a way that it's very, very easy to add new backend platforms. And actually those retro platforms are just one file. Also, yeah, that's it. They are not tested. They are not tested in a continuous integration system. So just hope they work, more or less.
My second question.
Oh, okay. Second
question. So what does it do? So like you do graphics, you do audio, you do input. Does it do network? Does it do like, if I want to do a game that has network, does it help me? Do I have to code network by myself?
That's a good question. About network, raylib does not do network. That's it. That's it. Actually, at the beginning of raylib, some years ago, there was an additional module that it's not here, that it's called net, that it was a network module. But network is a very complex topic, as you probably know. And that module had lots of problems. At some point became unmaintained, became buggy, and I decided to just remove that module from raylib because it had a lot of problems. And actually, network, as I said, it's a very complex topic, and nowadays, with all the security and everything, it's very difficult to keep it simple. So you need way more than that. For that reason, there is no network. Other modules, for example, physics. You commented about physics. No, there is no physics in raylib. Actually, here it is the interesting part. Where did you set the line? Because raylib, being a low-level library, programming library, you are intended that over that line, you see my mouse? Over that line, this is the platform layer, this is the raylib layer. Here, at that point, it's where you are supposed to build your engine, actually. To build your code structure, to create your game, to create your application, or to create everything. I think there are many things that belong to that level, that should not be inside raylib. Despite that, raylib has some basic functions for basic collision detection, collision between rectangles, line, circle, line, rectangle, line, line. You have even some basic collisions between 3D objects, bounding boxes. So it has physics usually are two parts, collision detection and collision resolution. So raylib gives you some functionality for collision detection in 2D and 3D, but it stops there. And if you want more advanced physics, you have to move. You can use any other library. Actually, in raylib extras, there are some extra repos integrating some physics libraries into raylib. Actually, I tell you more. Maybe you know Box2D, or it's a popular 2D library. It became very popular because it was used by Angry Birds. You know the game, Angry Birds? They used, Erin Cato created the library. Actually, Erin Cato knows raylib, and Box2D 3, as far as I know, has moved into more raylib style library. It moved from C++ to C, and more self-contained, less files, and actually it even includes a raylib integration example in the same Box2D library. So, yeah. Wow, there are lots of questions.
So you mentioned the presentation had actually a video. So how are you implementing that with raylib?
You mean the video player?
Yeah.
Well, not really, but partially. Actually, just 1 week ago, or it was 1 week ago or something, one person created one auxiliary library called raylib media. That it's also one header and one C file. It's a library to easily integrate video into raylib. Actually, that library internally used FFmpeg libraries. There was a presentation so recently here. It integrates FFmpeg, but it only uses those libraries for the video and audio frames decoding. Then there is a lot of more complexities into playing video, like drawing, synchronization with audio. There are lots of complexities into playing video. Well, there was a library, and actually the library came with several examples on how to play different media with that library. And I just went there, I picked the library, there was 2 files, I picked one of the examples, and I just tweaked a bit the example that was a player to add it to the presentation. I actually kept that as a separate program, but actually it could be integrated directly into the same presentation because it was just a header and a C file. Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned that there was no library that made what you want to do, which is put graphics on a screen like simply. But were there, let's say, any references, let's say, other libraries that maybe were not graphics related, but in which you not based, but like some reference or communities or people? Or...
Yeah. Actually, raylib was very inspired by. Well, it has been inspired by many things about the years. Even actually, Raygui was extremely inspired by Unity UI system, the immediate mode one. But raylib itself was very inspired by the Borland BGA graphics, Borland graphics interface. It's a library from 1974, something like that. Actually, before creating raylib, I tested that library, and I used that library in class. It was super good. It was super limited in many ways, but it was great. And when I tested it, it was like, oh, it has many limitations, but it's super simple. And it was probably the main inspiration. That to create raylib, the main inspiration. Besides that, in the past I had to use a lot XNA monogame. That is a C# library that's very popular. And most of the raylib syntax, most of the raylib API syntax was very inspired by monogame. Actually, if you compare the two APIs, you will see that are very similar in the names of the functions and the functionality in everything. Yeah. Those were the two main inspirations for raylib.
What's the future for raylib?
What's that?
The future. Raylib 6 is released today. What do I read in the release notes?
What's the future of raylib? That's a good question. Well, sincerely, I don't know. I don't know what's the future, because for the last 2 years, I'm saying that after every release, I say, okay, I'm done, I'm moving on, and I'm going to do anything else with my life and forget about this project. What's the problem? The problem is that it keeps growing. It keeps growing, and when I'm about to leave it, something always happens, because every day, if you check different networks like X, YouTube, Blue Sky, and you look for raylib, there are people creating amazing things every day, new things. And yeah, when I saw that, and when I do a new release and lots of contributors suddenly pop up and send improvements and say, hey, I updated the binding, I updated that binding, and wow, come on, it was in less than 5 hours since the release. It keeps me motivated to keep working on it a bit longer. It's like, okay, let's try to keep pushing it a bit further, because actually there is a lot of people that really love it, and I'm seeing people creating amazing things with it, and I'm seeing that the project keeps growing and growing and growing. I mean, it's in a point that it's probably transcending what is a product on itself, and more becoming kind of a platform. There is a big community growing in many social networks. There is a lot of people creating things with it. There is a lot of people creating derivative projects, raylib extras, bindings, and so on, that it's a reason to keep you very motivated, to keep pushing it a bit further. How further? I don't know, because the main raylib project always has been sustainability. Actually, probably my sustainability. Yeah, it's a free and open source project. It has some sponsors, it has some donation systems, but yeah, actually donations are not enough to make a living from it. So some years ago, I tried to create that kind of ecosystem with all the tools. Some tools are paid. People buy the tools, actually, so that's nice. But the volume is not big enough yet to make it sustainable. So, what's the future? I don't know. I don't know. It would depend on, well, every day what happens. Would
there be something that you'd like to implement in Raylib that you haven't? I cannot think of anything out of my head, but maybe you do.
Well, actually now I'm working in a new small. Well, I got a lot of tools that are not released yet, like this one, the presentations creator, or even the timeline tool. Actually, it's a tool to create timelines that it's very cool, and I haven't released it yet. The installer I'm about to release. I plan to do it in Black Friday. Let's see if I can do it. I got many open projects. I got like 40 open projects at the moment, and it requires a lot of time. But one of the extra projects I want to add to Raylib that I've been working for the last 2 weeks or so, in the same line that I created the project creator that set up all the environment, I feel that it would be interesting to add another small tool like this one to the pipeline. That is a tool that once you have a project set up, just with some config and one button, build your game for Windows, for web, for Android, or for the platforms that allow just building them in one button. And building them is not only compiling the code. Usually it's compiling the code, packaging the resources, updating the path in the code if it's required. Actually, there is a lot of things involved in doing it. Even if you are doing, for example, for Windows, even creating the installer automatically to distribute your game or your application. So at this moment, I'm planning this tool that will be that's a Raylib project creator, that will be Raylib project builder. And together with the Raylib installer, it will be like the 3 main tools intended for new users, non-professional users, to easily build their projects. Yeah.
So, if and when you get tired of maintaining this and everything, and you're like, okay, I'm done, I want to quit, have you considered adding other people to help you in a more coordinating role, like you're doing now?
Yeah, I consider it. And actually, I got some people in the list that already asked me about that. Yeah, but that's complicated. In my experience in those 11 years, is that there are not that many people with the commitment to work on this kind of open source project for so long. So in the past I got a lot of contributors that were adding amazing things to the library. But some of them maybe commit for some month to review those additions, and some just didn't. In general, many contributors just want to contribute one time and forget about it. That's what I found in the 650 contributors that have the library in those times. But yeah, it's true that there are some, just some of them, 1, 2, maybe 3, that had a bigger level of commitment. For example, one of them, it's called Jeff, that is one of the, it's the moderator of Raylib Discord community. It's a professional video game developer working in a AAA company. Well, sincerely, I don't know how he has the time to be always helping people, contributing to Raylib. Actually, it's the creator of raylib.org GitHub organization, and it's the creator of Raylib Extras. So that's one of the persons that could be, well, could be no, actually it's already actively helping a lot the library. But for now, transpassing completely the control to some other people, I'm not sure yet.
Pizzas are here.
Yeah, it's about time. Okay, well, then thank you very much. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for coming. Let's have some pizza.
Remember to subscribe to our mailing list if you want to come to other great talks. That's it.